Yep, absolutely. Looks like. Sorry, give me 1 second.
Okay. So it looks like, ooh, we already found the first person. It is the Atom. Ooh, 3 people with the initial shot. That means that there's somebody that's outside of the corrupt radius, maybe sneaking around or trying to get a generator started. But right now, we do have attention on 3 out of 4 of the team. The other 2 are scattering while he focuses on the Laura right now.
Yep, it does appear to be the case, and I believe it is possible that there could be a Calm Spirit on the team, so our Jake player Oscar might have been able to avoid that with the perk Calm Spirit, but the Static Blast in general is something that I find interesting, these Doctor sets now, because Doctor got a buff a little bit ago to let him use his Static Blast to find survivors a bit more often, and he doesn't get slowed down as much while he's using it, but he does get the tag on the hind and is opting to leave the chase and is now interrupting this active gen in the middle. It looks like they're doubling or even tripling that generator to try to get it out of the way. And Rocket's trying to take the chase far off into that corner, but they're doing very well here. Calamity did a good job at not giving him any free tag here, and they were able to spread out very quickly there.
Yeah, and Ultra did a really good job in not committing too hard. Knew that there were 3 people on that generator, knew that as soon as he tried to go to one of the corners, they would immediately get back on and put pressure. Because that Corrupt is still up. They are still being forced to go down the map, and so there's no really rush to get anybody down. Just creating pressure, getting stacks of save, and just, you know, like lighting a fire under them is the most important part of this early game. Just not letting them have a time to rest.
Yep, exactly. And while it was good that Ultra got a quick hit, it doesn't seem like that
Yeah,
translated
it
into
didn't
much.
commit. Right,
Yeah,
it didn't stick.
yeah, no, it seems like the survivors of Calamity here were able. The hit does come in onto Rocket here, but they're denying a lot of Ultra's pressure. The tag that came in onto Hein, the Lara player, was reset, and Ultra didn't get another down or even a hit in compensation for that until just now. But they did pop that gen by the logs. I imagine that would be a very important gen to pop because, as we could see, it looked like loose 5 gen at the top side of the map. So it was very good by the survivors to break that. And we do see a hit tank coming in by Pedro, but it is the Obsession. So that will be -2 stacks for Ultra.
Really good body block, and they got the generator done. Insanely good use of time. Just every second that Rocket was in chase, I'm sure that they were on generators. This window is still entity crammed from earlier, and the pallet is still up, but the shocks are just keeping up where I don't think he's going to be able to vault this in time. But the window is entity crammed. He's just going to go comp corner, though, because he's just being shocked too much, and he's full insanity. Getting hooked right now is giving his teammates a lot of extra time, especially with this corner.
Yep, and that was very smart by Rocket. When those shocks were coming in, he knew, all right, I'm going to go down here. I can't control it. So instead of trying to get an extra loop or do something fancy, he went ahead and just died all the way in the corner, causing the killer to drag him to a hook, taking longer, which delayed this pain res by a little bit. But we did see the second gen pop in exchange for that. So the survivors, I'd say, are off to a pretty good start here. They did get 2 gens done. We do see one of them that's about halfway, maybe a little bit over halfway at the moment. And the first hook stage just came in. And now, of course, the survivor Rocket has 70 seconds in total to stay on this hook while their teammates do gens. And we do see the Static Blast on Oscar come in. He's going to Scream there next to the Killer Shack. And the Killer does still have a 3 gen at the top. We still have the classic 11 main 1, 3 gen. And I believe I did see a hallucination to the right of main. So I would assume that there's a survivor on the left of main that we saw just now, and also on the right, getting those topside gens done while Rocket sits on hook here.
Yeah. Left side of main is still an incredibly dangerous area for the survivors. Not only are there a bunch of generators that Ultra has no reason to leave, he also is playing Doctor, which means that he can interrupt whenever he gets a Static Blast, whenever they're trying to do a generator near there, and the information given is very important. Going for this unhook is very dangerous because of this, because of just the ability to body block, the ability to stop, but they do eventually get it, and it is a trade. He commits to trying to get this tunnel out, and let's see if Adam maybe has Unbreakable, or wait, no, they can't have Unbreakable. Sure. Okay. So, getting the slug out and trying to commit to Rocket. Rocket is doing really good in bringing him all the way to Shack, really far away from any of the progress generators and any of the actual objectives. Oh, and
Ooh.
barely misses a swing, dropping Shack pallet in order to. That's really good. Making a lot of distance.
Yeah, Rocket's doing a great job here, and he actually called out exactly what the play from the doctor was going to be there with shocking near the shack pallet and then vaulting the window. But Rocket kind of predicted that and did an early vault to negate that play. And Rocket's just juicing up here, buying a lot of time for his team, and is able to make this vault and probably not making this window. But I would say this chase was already worthwhile for the survivors in that amount of time.
Absolutely.
They were able to pick up Pedro off the ground and fully heal him, and now we have two
Wow.
generators that are very high progress here by the top side of the
Yeah,
map.
one of them being doubled. And although both of them are at the top, so the doctor could theoretically get a shock off on this, they are most likely going to be very weary of this and just commit to whatever they can actually commit to. Ooh, but Laura does get shocked off, and Ultra does not commit to it. He has to decide between committing to this hook or trying to make sure that the gen doesn't get done, and it does get done, and they get the unhook without a trade.
That is very, very good for Team Calamity. A survivor didn't have to go down, at least not right away for that unhook. But Ultra will be getting this fresh hook onto Pedro, and I assume.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
I was going to say that would be a pain res to stop that gen from popping, but they got a flashbang save. It looks like that denied pain res and allowed the last generator to pop. Calamity is absolutely on a roll right now. I did not expect there to be a save that happens there at all, but Ultra will have to just take what he can get here. We do have to remember Rocket is only worth one hook stage, and everybody else is fresh. So ideally, if Ultra can get a hook on anybody other than Rocket and secure that, that would be as good of a result as possible at this point for Team Cynic. But we'll see what Calamity can do. I imagine they're going to try to protect the fresh hook as we see Pedro get taken, get picked up off the ground, and the tag comes in onto Oscar. So right now, the survivors, survivor side of the match for Cynic next match, I think the difficulty of that game is going to be dictated by if Ultra can get a fresh hook dead right now.
Yes, absolutely. Being able to secure a fresh hook early in this future game is incredibly important. Just securing that second stage and then getting that tunnel out could secure a win way faster. And that is pretty much their win condition because they have a win condition.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that hit just barely came out onto Hein. That might have looked a little interesting on Hein's screen there, but that looked like the launch just barely connected, and Hein will be going down. And we do see, I think, all three of the survivors here.
Yep.
Oscar is running over to this tile here, and Oscar does have to be careful because, again, he is fresh, so he doesn't want to take a hit in a bad spot and have the doctor catch up to him quick. We do have to remember that Save the Best for Last and Rapid Brutality are in play, so they have to be especially careful about that. But Oscar right now is positioning well to where if he takes a hit, he should make the door.
Although, yeah, the Rapid Brutality doesn't seem like it's going to be enough, and it looks like Ultra is going to try to go back to the slug and see if anyone's trying to get it. It does look like one other person is there. It's on a pallet to put some more pressure. No, they did get him up. Okay.
Oh, and this is Rocket. Rocket's taking the down for the fresh hook survivor. And now we have the only other healthy person, Pedro, here to hit tank so
And
Hein
he's
can make
the
it out of the
obsession,
door.
so
Yeah, it's also the obsession, but that's insane.
can't make
Now,
out of those 5 stacks.
yeah, that is fantastic because what they just did there was a perfect display of trying to prioritize your fresh hooks. Rocket went ahead and just took that down entirely for Hein, and then they had a body block from a health survivor come in at the perfect time to get all the fresh hooks out. So this is just going to be 3 stages on the killer side for Team Cynic, just one stage fresh.
Yeah, incredibly impressive job on the survivors side. Just great stuff all around. Really good communication when it came to just location. I think every single person, every single time that they went down,
And Cynic on the survivor side, and similar situation, our killers spawned bot side near the killer shack, and our survivors spawned around main. And just like last match, we see 3 survivors scream from the static blast at the start, and we do see the chase on to Nini coming in here.
oh,
So this actually, is this an early hit? Didn't he have a pallet here? Okay, they do have a pallet. It's not going to be hit just yet, but
Oh,
they have
okay.
nothing back here. This is a very early tag.
Oh, um, I thought she was gonna go for the body block. Okay, she was just in a locker. I honestly don't know what was going on there, but they're chasing the Hattie all the way down towards bottom, and oh, it looks like she was going to try to just go back up, but she just got cut off. And making sure not to go through the pallet as he saw somebody near here, immediately letting out a static blast. You know, this is what I was talking about. This is in between the 3 generators. There's a generator right below this. And it looks like Rocket is actually going to be trying to get this Meg that is kind of swarming around the hook here. Looks like Rocket thinks that this is the only survivor near this hook. And he might be right, because the other 2 could be working on generators right now. And even if they are, the Merciless will definitely hurt it if the Doctor is able to get to them in time.
I have to ask, did we just see a window tech from our mech player Wancy there? I think they window tech on that vault, which is pretty funny. But I definitely agree with you. This early game is not the start that Cynic would want, because that was an early down, and not only was that an early down, it was pretty much in the middle of the map. That was not an edge map death spot, and the killer can afford to proxy camp this, as we're seeing now. And then that tag onto Wancy coming in afterwards is pretty big, because now the survivors will have to heal through that resets or risk Wancy being caught and instantly downed off the generator. But Rocket did extend a little bit far from his hook here, and they are able to pull basically for free. And it looks like Rocket's going to go for this tunnel on to Nini and get somebody out of the game as early as possible. And we do see the first generator in the distance pop bot side near the killer shack. And Rocket's going to be taking their second hook on to Nini here.
Genuinely really good on Cynic to be able to get this unhooked, because if not for that, then Nini would have definitely died at this point already. And being able to have this person on hook at second stage, now Rocket has a lot of pressure, and Cynic has to be extra careful, because 1 death means 3v1, and against Doctor, unhooks become harder, generators become harder, everything becomes harder.
Yep, absolutely. And if teams are going for that same strategy where they're double unhooking to avoid the shock, and you're in a 3v1, then that means there's 1 person on the hook and then 2 people going for the unhook and nobody doing gens. So that is a very bad situation, and you basically have to just send 1 person and hope you can get a worthwhile trade or sneak in for free. But again, with those Doctor buffs, the static blast is available quite a bit more often, so he can find the Doctor can find people coming in for the unhook, see where people are hiding, and you just have to kind of be on your toes, because, you know, 1 little slip up, if you get found when you're not supposed to, especially if you're injured, that can be devastating. And Rocket's actually extending a bit far away from this unhook. I think he knows that nobody's there in time thanks to the static blast. He knew everybody's far away, and Nini is going to die. That's a hook at there. That's a death at 4 gens. Yeah. We will likely see another generator pop soon, so I'm sure they do have generator progress here, but a death this early is not what Cynic would want the survivor side. This is already tie condition met.
But they did get a generator done. It's on the bottom, though, quite far away from the other generators and where the Doctor is pressuring, and not close enough to the 3 gen. But we do see another hook, finally another fresh hook on Wancy.
Yep, and I believe this locks in the set win for Calamity, because now Calamity has 4 hooks, 2 fresh, while Cynic only had 3 hooks, 1 fresh on their killer side. So if I'm not mistaken, Calamity here has just confirmed the Doctor set win with that hook from Rocket. But there is still quite a bit of this game to go, and I think watching the rest of this game is actually going to be maybe even more entertaining than the start, even though the stakes were there, because I love seeing how survivors deal with these 3 versus 1 situations, especially on a small map like the Coal Tower. The tag does come in on Ultra, so if Acid is there, they pretty much have to get the unhook now, which they do. But now that they're in a situation, there's 3 survivors on the map, and 2 of them are injured. So I think we're going to see a snowball here, especially because Rocket can just instantly find these 2 people and pretty much has all the pressure in the world right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not only is one person already dead, but two people are injured, and Rocket pushed the only other injured person towards the worst generators for them. So it's really just for these survivors, it's going to be very hard for them to get even just a couple more generators done. I doubt that they're going to get any outs. If they do, I'll be very impressed. They did get 2 generators done, both of which, though, like I said, are at the bottom, and now Rocket has a full 3 gen at the very top.
Yep, and this is what I was talking about with those 2 injuries, because I imagine if Ultra popping that gen, if he was healthy, I don't think Rocket would extend this far just to get a tag, and
Mm-hmm.
instead would opt to take that hook and hook near the generators. But because he had those injuries when the tunnel out happened, Rocket was actually able to extend and just get it down onto Ultra. And during that time, Acid had to go and pick up Wancy off the ground. So that's even more time wasted. Rocket knows pretty much in the last like 20, 30 seconds, there has been nobody touching gens. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, he can just, again, Static Blast again. It's up so frequently now. And he's going to go ahead, I believe, and shock Acid here, who's now in Tier 3 Madness. And they'll have to step out of it. I believe that's Tier 3. Actually, the HUD is a little bit hard to tell with the quality that I'm seeing. But regardless, this is madness that they'll have to deal with. And if they get into Tier 3, that's, I believe, 10 seconds. They have to snap out of it. And I agree with you. I don't think we're seeing any outs here. I think if they play it very, very well, they might be able to have one good chase and a double and get the last gen done. But I would be surprised if we even see that.
Yeah, we just got like the Rocket is just really on lock with taking advantage of Doctor's not only range but just this map's size, because, like you said, it's a small map, and so you could see earlier Rocket constantly, even whenever he had a hook on one of the edges, he would overextend a little bit and then use the static blast to get the maximum length possible. And because of that, he was confident enough to go further and further. Obviously, it did allow for them to get unhooks and stuff, but he immediately got the tunnels out. So like it was really, really well played. They find like Rocket is just really good at predicting whatever the survivors need to do in that situation and adjusting to it.
Yep, definitely. And for a long time there, Rocket had both Acid and Wancy, I believe, pinned. Those 2 survivors behind main building. He had them both pinned behind main and knew exactly where they were, and was just shocking them, forcing that Tier 3 madness while Ultra was sitting on hook. And that was actually going to be very punishing, because now Ultra is dead, and I don't believe they have any generator progress to show for it. There's absolutely zero, and there is just no way that whenever a chase starts here, a survivor will be able to rotate to a gen and
Yeah.
work on it for 90 seconds and complete it. There's just
Yeah.
there's just no way.
And
So
go through.
no, yeah, you're gonna go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that Rocket was chasing Acid, and as you might notice, Wancy was Tier 3, so she literally couldn't do anything. But now Rocket has Acid at Tier 3 and got a tag on him.
Yep,
So,
and exactly
yep.
because you mentioned that Wancy was in Tier 3 during the start of this chase. They had very little time to rotate and start a gen. I believe they just touched this generator they're running away from. So now the situation is even better, because Rocket's basically starting a chase like he was earlier, but except with instead of having another person healthy working a gen, now he's chasing the healthy person, and the other person on the map, the only other survivor remaining, is injured. So as soon if he's able to get a quick down onto Wancy, he can just go around the map, static blast, find Acid, and just kill him. But if this goes really well for the survivors, I think Rocket's still okay, because he can take a
Wow.
hit and then find Static Blast and push Acid off his gen and deny that. So I think no matter what happens here, this should be a 4K one.
Mm-hmm. Unable to get to the window in time due to this shock, and I think that this is actually going to be the end, because just you can't really do much after you land if they're that close to you.
Yep. So we will see the hook onto Wancy come in, and I wonder if Acid's going to be lockering up to avoid the Static Blast. I think that would be wise, but at the same time, Rocket might expect that. However, I
Yeah.
think this really Acid's only play at this point. So I think we're going to see Acid attempt to stealth here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Ooh, we do get Acid right next to the shack where the hatch is about to spawn.
Yep.
And Rocket is, yep, going. Oh, no. He got him before. Unfortunate. I thought Rocket
Yep.
was going to close it, to be honest. Nope. A little bit more tact. Just catching him.
Yep. I will say I'm a little mad at Rocket because we could have gotten a nice finisher Mori inside the killer shack, but it doesn't change all that much.
True.
Man, so can
They need
somebody
to
remind
remember
these
it
teams to finisher
exists.
Mori if they 4K? I need to see some Moris in Comp DVD. I haven't seen any at all, and now that we have finisher
Yeah,
Moris,
right?
I need that.
Right. I remember yesterday they were like, oh, he didn't Mori. And I'm like, I assume because he doesn't have those yapping voice lines.
Yep, Chatterer is very quiet, but we actually see Obi for
Wow.
Calamity here finding the box right away.
That's exactly where the box was in a set yesterday.
Yep, and that's the thing, especially with Pinhead, the box spawn logic is always pretty much the same. It spawns in relationship to the other survivors and the killer, and because the offerings are in
Oh, yeah,
play in
you're
this match,
right.
Obi can pretty much confidently say, okay, the survivors spawned here, I'm here, so this is where the box should be, and was able to instantly find it. So that was a very good heads-up play by Obi, and we do see the first chase coming in here, close to the water tower on to Acid.
Wait, I think I commented. I think I casted Obi playing Pinhead on this map yesterday, but I hope he does another good job. And we see Wancy on the cube again, too far to get a nice little like extended hit. But we do see Original Pain and Impaling Wire again. I saw that a lot yesterday. In this map, we said it's just really good because there are so many things that you can use to take off. And the tiles just aren't big enough to where it actually matters if they get it off or not, the additional ones.
And
It's very...
we do see the first down come in onto Acid, and I will say I'm a little surprised we didn't see any body block attempts or any altruism here. So the survivors look to be instead opting to work generators for this chase, but I haven't seen a whole lot of gen pressure. We do see that generator in the street that's about 20-25%, and Wancy did do the box in this edge of the map, but we don't really see much progress on that generator there. Obi using the chain almost like a little camera to check the hook, or sorry, check the generator without going all the way there, and
Oh
was going for a little
wow, OP
prediction
is
at somebody camping the
paranoid.
tower. Yeah, but I'd say this hook spot is pretty good for Obi. They do have a little bit of a gen setup here by Gallows. Not a full Gallows 3 gen, but we do see the generator on top of Gallows and that balcony gen and that street gen, which is definitely holdable. So it looks like he almost interrupted that, but didn't quite make it. And Ultra's going to be working main.
That's actually very smooth, but Obi is definitely going to commit very hard to this unhook. I don't doubt that he's going to force a trade at the very least. I also think that he's going to try to commit to getting him second stage, and that's going to be the goal. Because he's going to use the chains as much as he can and just avoid them getting the unhook. But they are committing on generators, pretty much all of them. And he does get the second stage, so Obi's finally going to go pressure the generators. And he's starting with main.
Yep, and it looks like the survivors actually had no intention of even unhooking that. They said this hook happened, and what do we want to do? We want to 3-split and try and pop a bunch of generators for the survivor hitting second. So Acid is in grave danger of being eliminated soon. We do see the second generator pop there, and that actually breaks the 3-gen setup that that Obi had. It was actually 3 generators in Gallows. I misspoke earlier. So that does break the Gallows 3-gen. They may still have one in the street over there. Can't really tell judging by the camera position here.
No,
but
I don't believe so.
Then in that case, the generator setup is completely broken. So.
Oh, is it?
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was
there
about
is
to say. I'm like,
there is
there is
still
still another region, yeah.
I honestly, the hook was right next to the generator.
Sound
I didn't even
Street.
notice it. Obi still has a
Oh.
3-gen here. It was a 4-gen that spawned Gallows. I didn't even realize
Yeah, I
that.
was
So
gonna say, I'm like, I was so confused. They did get acid also. Killed acid have 3 generators, but I assume that they are on they are just pumping out these remaining few, and they get it down. Their second crush hook.
Ooh, I want to say this hook happening isn't necessarily a big deal, but where this hook is happening is a big deal because this is another hook deep inside of the 3-gen, and
Exactly.
this generator setup is very difficult for survivors to break, and
Ooh.
I think they could have tried to do maybe a double unhook onto acid and hope that they can make it far away and die somewhere else. But there isn't very many resources around here. So instead, they just opted to let him die. But now they're in this very difficult situation where they don't really have any pressure on this 3-gen. All these generators are pretty much sitting pretty at 0. And
Mhm.
Obi is able to just sit up here on the gallows and patrol everything. He's able to see every way in and every way out.
Yep.
And I think the survivors know that, so they might just try to get
Mhm.
another gen, maybe another 2 gens done here before the match is over, which is probably all you can do as far as damage
Mhm.
control at this point. But I do think this was not the start that Cynic wanted. That death spot was very unfortunate, and I don't know if they realized there was a 4-gen Gallows, and I think that just made this even more punishing because I imagine they were on that generator by the balcony near Gallows and were saying, okay, we popped the 3-gen, but there's still 3-gen there now, so that is just
Hmm.
very, very punishing.
Yeah. They Obi definitely has location on at least Wancy and is still just committing to this. I don't think he knows that they're both committing to. No, he does. He's finally, or at least because of the second stage, he's finally going to try to apply pressure to some of the generators. He knew that generator was getting done, so he knows that Meg is most likely going to go in for the save. She's going for the box, and he's not taking the bait. He's still committing. No, he is. Oh, but that generator was the highest progress one. Okay, so he pushed him off of it. He confirmed Ultra's location, and then now is committing to Lancy. I see.
Yep. The thing here is also Obi teleporting here to this box also puts him in a very nice position where he can
Mm-hmm.
sit upstairs and kind of see what Ultra's doing and see if he's going for that unhook. And I think he's worried about that because Ultra does pop that gen, which you might say like, oh, maybe Obi could have prevented that, but it was pretty high progress, and unless he was able to get pain res or anything like that, it might be difficult for him to fully defend it. But now Obi's in a great spot because he knows, mathematically speaking, there's no way somebody can make it over to this hook in time. So Nini's
Mm-hmm.
dead. And now it's a 2v1. And I think this is a very safe play from Obi because, maybe if he exerted a lot of pressure on Cynic here, he could have tried to save that gen and get a slightly better result. But now this is a pretty much guaranteed 4K1. They
Mm-hmm.
they did give away that generator in the town for free, but doing that allowed Obi to just lock in this 2v1 way earlier than usual. And now what are they going to do? All these generators here are in the 3-gen by Gallows, and I'd say it's impossible. I don't like using that word in comp DBD, but I'd say it's just impossible to break this.
Is going to be incredibly hard, especially with Pinhead and having to manage the box. Just Pinhead in these kind of scenarios is really difficult, which is it's no question that's why Obi committed so hard to creating the scenario, because it creates a very, very consistent win condition for their team. Just don't get 4K'd, you know? And so, like, because Obi is definitely playing with the knowledge of, yesterday. Like I said yesterday, um, I don't think either of the pinheads got a 4K, and so this is a very, very good result, and just committing to the both kills all the way to death. uh the best choice, absolutely.
Yep, and we do see Wancy trying to juke a chain there, and actually is going to get zoned a little bit because Obi canceled, and that's a quick down on Wancy, and Obi's just looking to end the game right here and try to find Ultra and get this last hook. And it looks like Ultra was working this gen. It got to about 35, 40-ish percent. But again, not even 2 pistons cranking fully, so they weren't even able to get half of a gen's progress. And that's just what I'm talking about. Like if this situation was in a 3v1 and Obi committed to a chase at main or far away from the setup for a little while, it's possible with a double to break this,
Mhm.
but with this just being a 2v1, it just it must feel helpless for survivors. And now I imagine this will be a pain res that regrets that gen further. Nope, not a pain res, but still, it doesn't really matter. Ultra can't safely work anything. He's trying to, but he just
Ooh.
can't safely work anything here. And I imagine he'll be
Mm.
getting found pretty soon.
Yeah, I doubt he's not going to get interrupted from this, but he is decently close. And if he can somehow stealth his way towards Wancy, he definitely could get a result from this if he plays this absolutely perfectly and if Obi doesn't do enough looking. But he doesn't play it perfectly and he does get found out. So that is a 4K1.
Yep, and this was I think, very good example of a game that displays, especially, particularly on the Dead Dog Saloon, with how small the map is, and where the killer can drag you to a generator setup. It just really shows that two things are very important, I would say, in a Cenobite Dead Dog Saloon set, and I think those two things are altruism, an appropriate amount. You don't want to give up all your generator pressure for taking hits, but doing that would allow people to extend those chases a little bit. And also the other thing, in most sets this is important, but especially in Dead Dog Saloon, the death spots are huge because there's almost always a 3-gen, in this case a 4-generator setup at Gallows. So if a hook happens deep inside the area, it is something that the killer can punish massively, which we saw this game.
Yeah. Just it's just a lot for a very small map. That's the biggest factor in this set is how small the map is, how small the effective area of the map is. A lot of it is outskirts, dead zones, and filler palette areas. Like, not a lot of it is substantial tiles. It's very hard to find a good death spot without being able to apply pressure to a bigger area because of how small it is.
Are getting into the second game of the Pinhead matchup here, and we have who is this? This is Ultra on the killer side again, and we actually see Ruin Undying. Do you think that could change things a bit here if Ultra's able to get a quick down?
Um, yeah, actually, this could be pretty crazy, especially with Pinhead's ability to just kind of attack at a distance. If he's able to get a really efficient hook location, because he already got the chain hunt started. If he's able to get a really efficient hook location and he keeps up with chain hunts, or like either or, it'll be very difficult for them to do Ruin and Undying, and in turn gives them more opportunity to do the box more often, keep them off of generators, let that happen. I think his goal here is going to be to either camp those two things and generators, or perpetuate chain hunt, which he wasn't able to get that chain hunt.
Yep. We did see somebody go ahead and solve the box near the Gallows area while the chase on behind comes in, who might be dead. Nope, they just barely make that pallet, so they are going to get the stun, and they're actually able to make quite a bit of distance for that. But Ultra is trying to deny them the safe part of the map. He doesn't want them to run towards main building and potentially get a hit tank here. So he's actually going to break it on this side, and it looks like Hein is forced to go towards the direction of Water Tower near the town here. So I would say that is definitely a better area to die than in the back of main or near Gallows. So we're going to see what Hein does here, see if they can juice up. And this isn't the safest setup. If you get hit through one vault or lose one mind game, you could just be game over. So Hein will be getting put down on that hook. We do see a generator at main that's about 70%, and Rocket rotating away from a generator at Gallows as Pedro pops it. I believe they may have been doubling that, so presumably no 3-gen at Gallows is in play, but I would say this is already a better start for the Calamity survivors than Cynic had last game.
Yeah, getting this generator done quickly and just kind of creating that baseline to where even if he does camp, that generator's still done. They only need to do 2 more generators. Or, 4 more generators instead of 5 during this camp. It's definitely significant. There's still 3 of them up. There's still all of them alive. And they have another generator, very high progress. Although Ultra does see it and is going to attack it. Ruin is going to get on that generator a little bit. Showing some of that action, and it looks like they're not even They're not attacking Ruin at all, but Ultra is taking full advantage of it.
Yep, Ultra is trying to squeeze some Ruin value out by getting a chain on the Survivor working in main building and just letting Ruin do its thing. And we actually do see Pedro cleansing a totem here, so that'll at least get rid of Undying, but Ruin will still be up. And it looks like the decision-making is similar as to what we saw last game. They're going to let that hook just go fully to second. And I think, honestly, they are fine because they already popped 2 gens, and now they're just free to, split up and just have somebody trade when the time comes, and that should buy them enough time to at least get all of these generators done. But we do see Ultra chasing Oscar. Very smart little quick check there to see if somebody's coming in for the pool, and he does catch out Pedro here going in for it, so he's going to try and deny that, and that is a little bit of time for Ultra because there, now another survivor will presumably have to go in. Yep, we see Oscar going in from the town side of the map, and Ultra knows. So Ultra has a pretty decent idea of where everybody is, but I think the survivors have to pull this because if this survivor on hook, if Hein dies right now, then that could be trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. This hook could spell a really, really difficult endgame for them because he still has Ruin up. They still haven't gotten Ruin. They got Undying, and unfortunately, they were near each other, so you might be able to find it. But this hook does look like it's going to go to death, and it does look like they didn't commit at all. So Ultra might have been better off extending a little bit more, maybe doing a little bit more, but we don't have generators super high progress yet. So this still could be a very good situation for Ultra.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame Ultra for not extending too far away
Oh
from
yeah,
the
I
hook there,
don't.
because
He got the kill.
yeah, I mean, I don't really blame him for that also, though, because I was fully expecting a Calamity survivor to just go in and at least trade. I was fully expecting that.
I was expecting that too, to be honest.
They just let Hein die on that hook, and I mean, if this chase goes well, or if there's a mistake that Ultra makes, then they could still easily, meet this win condition. But now this is it feels a lot more high stakes here because one quick down on the survivor side and maybe a potential pain res, and it'll be hard to get something going because this is 3v1 with 2 gens left is ideally not what you want. If this happened maybe when there's 1 generator remaining, I think that's a lot less of a scary position, but the chase is coming in onto Rocket here, and I think only 1 survivor is working on gens right now because Pedro is busy dealing with that box to prevent the chain hunts, and I think they're going to leave Rocket here.
Yeah, I think Pedro definitely did it in a... Yeah, he opened the box in the place right next to main, right next to be able to go loop main, and it's far away from the generators because they already completed it. Very smart placement from Pedro, but it does, because of how small this map is, puts him in a position where he can still pressure most of the map, especially with the distance of the chain.
Yep, definitely. And Rocket is actually going to be in chase here. Maybe not.
Wow.
Nope, is in chase, going for a chain, but doesn't quite land. And Rocket doesn't have a pallet at Water Tower, but it's fine though, because Ultra is coming back to contest this generator. And I think what Ultra is going for here is he's trying to generate pressure by having a couple injuries and then committing to a chase, because if he's chasing somebody while 2 survivors are healthy, just doing gens, that could be a little bit of trouble for Ultra. So I think he's trying to go for a couple quick tags here and then set up a potential snowball.
Yep, going right back to the Ruin and the generator that's getting that has a little bit of progress. Still at 2 generators, so only 4 gens he needs to look out for. Ruin finally going down.
And I think getting that Ruin was necessary because Ruin in the 3v1 is so deadly.
Absolutely. You can't really go for an unhook. You can't go for the box. There's a lot of different objectives that you have to watch out for. Pretty much only in a 3v1, because usually with 4 people, you can manage, but very, very good on Ultra for getting them out this early, because I think they might have needed to get that unhook, because no, they actually have a lot of progress on one of the generators, but I don't think Ultra really cares. I think he's mostly focusing on securing a hook and he knows that Pedro has the box, now knows the location of him. Ooh, he was actually able to get
Ooh.
a hit and interrupt it.
Yeah, that interruption is everything we might see. Ultra commits us down here to try and get a chain hunt going, and if there's a big snowball that we see once this happens, then that could be a potential Tycon. But Dark Sense is actually getting crazy value. Pedro had walls on the killer because of Dark Sense, which is a perk I don't think I've ever seen in competitive DBD until just now. So that's amazing to see value from a little bit of an unusual perk. But I think no matter what, Ultra wants to get this down to get that chain hunt going.
Getting the chain hunt is incredibly important because then he has a down person and two people that either have to get the box unhooked. You know, the decisions that they have to make is very difficult for this map, especially. But Ultra putting out, like, making sure that they have to make these decisions. He's not allowing the box to just go. He's not letting it just get solved every single time. And especially with this impaling wire going around this main building bit is very dangerous.
Yep, it is indeed, and Pedro's gonna go down there and start the chain hunt. But I'd say that was a really good chase from Pedro because that allowed both of their teammates to take care of that injury. They went ahead and did a reset, while Oscar starts this gen at the water tower. So I do think this is not good to be in a chain hunt situation, but I think that getting buying their teammates time there and denying any injuries or complete lack of gen pressure there kind of makes it a little bit easier for Calamity to deal with it. We just have to instantly get this box and hope he doesn't interrupt again.
Ultra is right next to this box, though. He definitely can't solve it right now, but thankfully Ultra did not hear it, and he is actually committing to this unhook. And got two of the injured people out, and now the only non-injured person is the one working on the box. So getting this injury could be very impactful.
Yep, and I will say I think the decision making from Ultra there was really nice because there are a lot of times people will say like, oh, you shouldn't teleport to the box. There's not really much point. But in this case, Ultra knows where those two injured survivors are. That he has them kind of pinned back inside of main, and they see Oscar solving the box near the gen. So Ultra knows that if they teleport to Oscar, those two injured survivors will either have to waste time resetting into main or rotate across the map to do a generator or work Gallows, which is unsafe. So no matter what happens, that is some nice time saved on Ultra's side there, because that is going to force a reset on those two survivors. And I think that teleport was probably the best play he could have made here, because now
absolutely.
He's kept those survivors off gens this whole time. They made it
they
so
were getting
they
resets.
had to choose. They had to choose between that reset or rotating across the map.
Ooh, but they did find the box again and aren't able to complete it during the unhook. I mean, during the hooking scenario. Oh,
Yep, and
wow, a basement hook though.
Interesting.
Almost gets out. If they would have went for a body block, he actually would have gotten out.
Yeah, that was a very close wiggle. But now this basement hook being in play, Ultra is actually able to play for all these gens, especially using the chain as a little bit, of a scouting tool as a camera. They can also push somebody off of Gallows and just kind of keep an eye on those town gens. So yeah, this could be the turning point Ultra needed, and I don't know if they're just gonna go in and try to unhook this fast or just sit on gens. They're just gonna sit on gens. I think if Rocket was able to go in there and unhook quickly when when Ultra went away, that could have paid off. But that's a very risky play. I kind of like what Calamity's doing here. They're going for the safe option of pressuring a gen and another survivor pressuring the hook, so the killer can't really successfully camp either one of them, and they'll slowly get this gen pressure, slowly but surely.
Yeah, but Ultra is trying his hardest to just make sure that Rocket can't get that generator done, but getting those chains off pretty quickly and the lack of commitment means that Rocket is just sticking on it.
Yep, Rocket does want to play for this gen, but
he knows that he's not going to commit, because as soon as he does, Pedro gets to save.
Exactly, and this is the kind of position that survivors can force a killer into, where they're basically like, hey, you have this hook, you also have this high progress gen that also happens to be the win condition, and they're not letting the killer have both. They're making him pick, and Pedro is actually going to go down here and trade While
Ooh,
Ultra
and he
prefers
goes-
the gen.
Oh, changes his attention to the generator, but it's too late.
Yep. So that will be win condition. And right
And
now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
most likely the DS, I'm gonna assume.
So I believe DS is banned in the set.
Oh, then
but
why did he? Oh, to make him commit to the hook.
Yep, and it would be endgame
What?
anyways, so even if DS wasn't played, that would not work. Actually, I think Pedro didn't mean to give that down. So that will be extra hook stages for Ultra, but if they successfully did that play where one of them forced a locker and forced a long animation of dropping and all that, then one of them could have gotten out of basement here and gotten more stages. But that's still a great result for Calamity there. They were able to manage to meet the win condition by popping out last generator and even getting a fresh hook survivor out the door. So I'll say that's a very big win for Calamity here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Really good stuff.